A couple hundred years after the Buddha, some descendants of Rajas in a particular area, coming from a lineage known as the Mayurans, become really awesome warriors. And they are able to use their military success to conquer much of India. They go to the far western extent of India. They eventually come in contact with Alexander the Great, which is kind of cool. That's Chandragupta Mayura. And under his grandson, Ashoka, almost all of India, if you remember from the lecture, the image that I have up there, is brought under the control of the Mayurans. And keep in mind, they do this largely through warfare. So one of the things that Ashoka does, so now we're in the 200s, right? We are far after the Vedics started. We are well beyond the time when the Mahabharata and the Rig Veda were composed. Ashoka, after he conquers a bunch of people, including in something that's called the Kalinga Massacre, where he slaughters thousands upon thousands of people to control an area that had kind of held out against him, he creates a series of rules or laws or sayings that he puts up throughout the Indian Empire. He carves it on rock so that the audience is anybody who can read it can see it, right? So this isn't a personal communication. This is something created by the king, so you know the author, intended for everybody in his empire, which is going to be a vast array of people who don't necessarily buy into the fact that they are part of the Mayuran Empire. They're probably going to resent the king. They're going to hate the fact that he just slaughtered them. They aren't going to like that they speak different languages and have different customs. So what you can do with these edicts, just like with the prompt, is you can break it down into smaller chunks. And you can look at them kind of point by point, pick a couple of them, the ones that seem most accessible to you, the ones that you kind of seem to understand, and dig into those and see what is it that Ashoka says he is like. How does he portray himself as a king? Any ruler portrays himself in a very particular way. They don't talk about all the crap that they've done. They talk about their great things as a way to create almost a cult of identity to unite people. So one thing you might consider is, how does Ashoka portray himself? How does he brag about himself? You might also think about, how does he try and guide everybody into behaving the same type of way? Folks who, again, speak different languages and have different customs and would resent the Mayurans. Why would he do this? How would he use this as a unifying factor? What you can do if you dig into this is think about some of his ruling strategies. He comes up with more or less a series of laws and an image of himself. He also comes up with this idea of dharma, right, which is tough to define. It's kind of a universal law that underlies all good behavior. So he tries to teach people to behave in a morally right way with incentives that aren't necessarily legal punishments like you might have seen in Hammurabi's Law Code. So I spent a lot of time on the Mahabharata and the Rig Veda. Here I'm giving you a bit of guidance, but I'm not really spending a lot of time digging into the particulars. I'm going to leave that up to you so that you kind of do the legwork on this part. I'll have one more slide here right after this, kind of wrapping things up, and then we'll go from there.